Welcome to Nice Minds, everybody. I am your host, Brandon McCollum, also known as BMcC. I am with one half of the Wisemen Show today, Jake Faircloth. How you doing, my dude?
I'm okay, man. I'm doing well. How are you?
Word, I'm doing well myself. So I've been a fan of your guys' show for a while, probably since the very beginning. I've been following you guys a lot, and it's crazy because I don't know if you remember this, but I was actually mentioned on your show, which was pretty funny. You guys interviewed my dudes, the Bottle Kids. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember that. Yeah, so
Yep.
they were a part of Nice Entertainment, my label, and it's super funny because I actually saved the clip and they mentioned me, and you thought that Nice Entertainment was Adrian Peterson's label, which I
Yeah.
thought was hilarious. I got a good laugh out of that. So that was funny. But yeah, man. So how'd you get started with music and like the Wiseman Show and stuff?
Basically, I'll start from the very beginning before podcasting was really even a thing. Joe is a few years younger than me, and so I was working in a warehouse. I was managing a warehouse, and he was part of the whatever the high school program that they do that the after work, come in and work part time or whatever. And so he came in to work for me basically, and I didn't like him at first. I thought he was just a little punk, and that was I was for no reason at all. Just he just looked like he was a punk. And so then I started to kind of talk to him more, and I realized that he was not only was he a hip hop head, but he actually had a pretty deep appreciation for what you would call, I guess, old school hip hop. Um, and so that was back when Discman was a thing, and I had a thick book of CDs.
Hell
And so
yeah,
I
me
started
too.
kind of introducing it. Actually, that book of CDs still exists. Joe has it in his
Oh,
possession.
that's what's up.
Yeah. And so I kind of started to introduce him to um, more of like the old school. I guess it's weird for me to call it old school, but more of the old school hip hop. And so we kind of forged a relationship based on that. And then, as time went on, Joe went off to start his career in the car business, and I was still in the warehouse. I was there for nearly 13 years. Um, and one day, I don't even know how it happened. I think I was listening to the Breakfast Club, and I heard Charlemagne mention his podcast. And so I was like, oh, what the hell? What's a podcast? I'd heard the word podcast. I just didn't really think anything of it. And this would have been probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, probably like 2012, 2013, around that time. And so I'm like, okay, well, I like Charlemagne. I like his edginess as far as being, how he is as a broadcaster. So let's go see how he is on the more, in the unedited world.
Yep.
And so I found Brilliant Idiots. And then through Brilliant Idiots, I found, the Joe Budden podcast in the very early days. And then I found, which to me is the greatest podcast of all time and the greatest podcaster / broadcaster of all time, and the Combat Jack Show. When I heard Combat Jack, it was like, holy shit.
I need to check that out. I've never seen that.
Oh man, whole back catalog. RIP Combat Jack. He actually died
Oh
of
wow.
colon cancer. Yeah, it was tough because that's, even as an adult, that he became a big I don't want to say idol, but big motivator. And I mean, yeah, idol. I definitely idolized him. I still do. Um, so yeah, then I got into the Combat Jack Show, and once I got into the Combat Jack Show, it was like the wheels started turning, because Joe and I had always discussed. We'd always had deep discussions about music. Anytime new music came out, it was kind of like a ritual. Even no matter where we were at, we would come together and we would listen to music together. If a new album came out, we'd get together, drive around, smoke some weed, listen to the new album, and kind of dissect it, break it down a little bit. And so after I found podcasts, I tried to kind of tell him, like, hey man, there's this thing that people are doing now, podcasting, and we could do it. We could basically start our own radio show. So all these conversations that we have riding around in the car talking about music, we could do that shit with microphones, and people might listen to it. We might be able to make money off of it, might be able to make a career out of it. And so he really scoffed at that. He's like, I don't know what a podcast is. That's ridiculous. But I believe it was 2015. The game released the documentary 2,
Yep.
and we've both been very big fans of the game. I'm still really big fan of him musically, and so we got together, drove around, and listened to the album. Great album, by the way.
Oh
And
yeah.
at the end of the night, he went to drop me back off at my spot, and we pulled up in the parking lot, and I just said, "Dude, I think we got to do this podcast thing." And he was like, I don't really know anything about it, but fuck it, let's try it." So I believe it was just the next week. It might have been the next day, for all I remember. We went and bought no, we didn't even buy anything at first. We just used my phone at first. We downloaded an app called the Spreaker app,
Oh
and
wow.
he had like a spare bedroom in his house. So I went to his house. We had no idea what we were going to do, what we were going to talk about. So we decided that what we'll do is we'll do a half hour. Our first episode will be a half hour, and we'll start breaking down each of our top 10 MCs, starting with 10 going through 6, and then the second episode will be 5 through 1. So we did that. Those episodes are still available out there somewhere, I think, on SoundCloud. Just awful, terrible episodes.
Yeah.
But you know, it kind of broke the ground for us, and I'm trying to think of exactly how it happened. So we did those 2 episodes, and then I think he had kind of an acquaintance. I don't know if you're familiar with Ace.
Yeah. Yep. I actually know him way back in the day. We were maybe gonna like start a crew. Like I've always wanted to start a label, and me and have you heard of Nemo the Hooligan? He's a DJ around here.
Yep, for
Um, he's
sure.
he's one of my best friends. We went to high school together. And we were gonna start hooligan music at one point, and
Okay.
ACE was actually gonna be a part of it. So
Hmm.
I mean, I only met him a couple times, but we were kind of, if I remember correctly, if that's the story, maybe it was something like that. But I mean, we were definitely in talks of like joining forces with him and doing stuff like early on in his career. So that's what's up.
Okay. So yeah, that's my bro. He actually he ended up becoming a really close friend of mine. Um, and I was introduced to him through Joe because Joe knew him as an artist, and so we brought him on. We brought him on. I don't remember if it was him first or if it was Abhinav first, but we had one of them 2 on as a guest because we just wanted to bring on a guest, and that introduced us to basically the fact that we have a hip hop scene here. We didn't really know before that. The only thing I knew about hip hop in Minnesota was Atmosphere,
Yeah.
and I've never really been that big of a fan of Atmosphere. So it was like, we were introduced to like Baby Shell,
Hmm.
and once I heard Baby Shell, we literally started the podcast almost right as Baby Shell dropped Baby Shell's World. And when I heard Baby Shell's World, I was like, yo, they're rapping like this in Minnesota. I had no idea.
Hell yeah.
And then from there it was like, okay, Big Wiz. I knew who Big Wiz was. I was familiar with Big Wiz. Never really got into his music at the time. I hadn't gotten into his music, but I knew who he was. And then it was like all of a sudden there was this like flood of artists that we keep finding out about. And before you know it, we became a guest base podcast for Minnesota artists. It wasn't really ever the plan. It just kind of naturally happened. And I think the specific moment where we really made the true transition to that was I believe it was January of 2016. Lyric Marid invited us to his release show for Power Moves at the Caboose, and we ended up setting up our whole shop there in the green room. It was insane. Like we met Jay Plaza that night. We met Lyric that night. We met Reed Benjamin that night. We met Saeed Brown. We met John X. It was like a lot of like people that are still considered to be heavy hitters here in the local scene. And
Absolutely.
so that's when it just became like, it was like the light went off. It was like, okay, this is something that we're missing here. We don't have this as far as we knew.
Yeah.
Let's fire it up. Let's go. And then, it's kind of been full steam ahead since then. So that's how it started.
That's what's up. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, so many different friendships were built just off of rolling around listening to music back in the day. I mean, I don't roll around with friends near enough anymore, so I don't know if that still goes down, but like, we'd always have our big ass thing of CDs, and we'd just, peel through it and just, pop it in, and going to, Best Buy or the local record store or whatever, like every Tuesday at the time, because CDs
That's
came
a
out on
fact.
Tuesday. Yep.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, dude, and I didn't even realize that you weren't really that familiar with the local scene at first. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just assume that I
Yeah,
think people think that we've been around longer than we have, but we really didn't we didn't hit like we didn't really hit the ground running until 2016. Like
that's crazy.
we did quite a few episodes before that with no guests.
Wow.
It was just Joe and I, and we would talk about mainstream hip hop. We talk about Drake. We talk about fucking Lil Wayne. We talk about
Yep.
Snoop. We talk about what I mean. We did quite a few episodes with no guests.
Wow, that's interesting. That's crazy.
Hmm.
Because I mean, even me,
Yep.
I've been in the local scene since like '04.
Hmm.
But I'm a hella introvert, so nobody really knew who I was until I feel like
Sure.
recently, the last 5 years or so. So that's dope though. So who do you say has been like your favorite guest or like reoccurring guest to talk to,
Ooh.
or like maybe
Um,
top 5 guests or something like that?
One of my favorite episodes that we've done. I'll give you a couple of my favorite episodes. It's tough because we've done like 230 now, 220 something. But one of my favorite episodes was the one that we did with Amir Abdullah from the Vikings, Minnesota
Okay,
Vikings running back,
word.
Amir Abdullah. Such a genuinely nice guy, and like you wouldn't, you never really know what to expect with professional athletes or
Yeah.
like famous people, I guess you would say,
Yep.
but he was just a genuinely nice guy, down to earth dude, and just a really deep thinker. So we ended up doing, I think, like a 3.5 hour episode with him,
That's what's up.
um, and kind of forming a relationship with him. Like I talked to him on a fairly regular basis. He texts me like, I think it was like week 12 this year. He texts me back while he was in the locker room. Like I wasn't expecting him to text me back. I text him something, and then all of a sudden I got the text back at like 11:40, and I'm like, "Don't y'all play at noon?" Like,
Wow.
so he's like in the
That's
locker
crazy.
room
Yeah.
responding to me. So just a super good dude. And then so that was a really fun episode. I would definitely recommend people go listen to that because we didn't talk a whole lot about sports and stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of other stuff. That was a really fun one. Another one that I kind of hold close to my heart is the episode that we did with Mac Irv, and that was about a year ago because of the backstory. So when we first started kind of getting guests on the show, we had a connection with someone. Joe had a connection with someone that knew Mac Irv, and at the time, Mac Irv was kind of bubbling, and he felt like one of the bigger artists out of the city.
Yep.
Like it would have been a really big guest for us to get at that time.
Yeah, I feel like Matt Curve is still like that. I mean, I would just
He
was just
definitely is.
I was just recording another one last night, and Matt Curve was mentioned on that one too. So I mean,
Yeah,
he's still very relevant.
he definitely is. He definitely is. And I think, yeah. So I think so at that time, just because of where we were at, like we were really nobody at the time. So that would have been a really big guest for us to get.
Hell yeah.
And we ended up booking him. And there was some miscommunication, and he ended up bailing on us like a couple hours before the pod. And like we made a big deal out of this. Like we promoted the fact that he was going to be on the show before it happened.
Yep.
I went out and bought him like a specific bottle of alcohol that he wanted, and he bailed on us. And because I kind of went to this, the broadcasting school of, the Charlemagne Broadcasting School, I saw it as an opportunity to, I don't know, start a little something because I
Yeah.
was upset.
Yep.
Joe and I were both upset. So we started kind of taking little pop shots at him, and we would put we would take pictures of the bottle that we got for him with our other guests, and we were kind of taunting him a little bit. And then because he never like rescheduled or tried again, we started talking about him, and we didn't speak about him very favorably, and that got back to him. And so there was like this kind of like unspoken beef between us and Mac Irv for
Wow.
like probably 3.5 years, I would say.
Wow.
And then finally, I reached out to Mac personally, and I just told him, like, we still supported him. That's the one thing that I'm very proud of about the Wiseman Show is even if we don't like you or if you did something to rub us the wrong way, we still support you
Right.
because that's what we do. That's our job. So I reached out to Mac one day, I think probably about a year and a half ago, and I just said, "Hey, man, like, I'm just gonna come to you as a man and just let you know that whatever all that shit was back in the day, I apologize. It was wrong. It was childish. We probably could have just had a conversation. We would love to have you on the show." And so he kind of, he accepted the apology and said, "Yeah, when I'm ready to come out on the show, we'll do the show." And then about a year ago, he was getting ready to release the album that he's finally going to release. I think in a couple of days now.
Dope.
He was getting ready to release it, so he agreed to come do the show. I've had the album for over a year.
Sick.
It's not. I don't think it's exactly the same. I think he switched up a few things, but he finally came out to do the show, and we were able to really, truly face to face squash whatever was between us on the episode. So during the episode, which was important to me, I wanted people to see it and hear it. And it was an interesting thing to find out, where he was at from his perspective. And it turns out all that shit that we were doing, he didn't even see it. He didn't even know that we were taunting him.
Oh,
he knew that we were talking. He knew that we were saying some shit about him, but like he didn't know that we were taunting him with like the bottle. He didn't know any of that. He's like, "Oh shit." He's like, "If I'd have known that, I might not even be here now." But yeah, so it was cool. So and now we have a good relationship with Mac. I love Mac. He's a super good guy, really talented dude. And this album it's insane. It's going to be the one.
I need to check it out
for sure. Yeah. So those are two of my favorite episodes. I have a ton of favorites, but there's so many episodes that I could say because of my personal experience. I like the people. I prefer the people to say what their favorites are because like I know what I felt. I know what I experienced.
Right.
But, like Solo Star is another one where I just liked her. Like there was just a vibe coming off of her that I just really liked.
I've heard of her. I've never heard any of her stuff, but I've definitely heard the name.
Yeah, for one, she's extremely talented. But she just has a vibe about her. It's funny, I actually spoke to her today about that. She's just special. You can just tell when you're around her. She's just special. And there was a vibe. I think her and I kind of had a vibe between each other. Like I remember I told her today that at the end of the night, that after that episode, I went home and I told my wife that I might have fallen a little bit in love with her. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah. So yeah, but then there's always obviously the obvious ones. The kind of the bucket list one was Redman. That was incredible.
Yeah,
that experience was. Yeah, that was crazy. That whole experience was crazy. It almost didn't happen, and then it did happen. It was crazy, and it was a cool interview. The problem that I have with like that interview, as well as like the Busy Bone interview, the Dizzy Wright interview, and the Devin the Dude interview is, it was so early. We just weren't very good at what we did. We weren't very good at our job. Like if I had the opportunity to interview those guys again today, oh man, it would be an incredible interview.
Yeah,
it would be so much better. But still obviously great experiences. And to be honest, Redman was one of like I've been a huge fan of Redman forever. That's a bucket list interview.
What was that? I beat at back in the day, like 98-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll beat at. That was my shit back in the day when I was like 13, and that shit came out. That was my jam, dude.
Yeah, yeah. They say never meet your idols, and because they'll disappoint you. But Redman did not. He did not disappoint, man. He was exactly who I thought he was, and he was that all the way through. And he told us. It's actually in the interview. He tried to cut the interview like twice. He's like, "I got to go. I got to catch a flight," and then something would draw him back in.
Oh wow.
To keep him, and like I titled the episode "Fuck You" because I asked him to give us his top 5 dead or alive, and he looked me dead in my face and he went, "Fuck you."
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a moment for sure. That was a moment, and that was I don't know if you know that people know this. We interviewed Dizzy Wright, Devin the Dude, and Redman all in the same night.
Yeah, I think Joe mentioned that. It was like after a show or something, right?
During and after, yeah.
Oh, during.
Well, actually, it was one was before the show started. We interviewed Dizzy right before the show started. We interviewed Devin the Dude while the show was happening, and then we interviewed Redman very late after like they were trying to kick us out of the venue. We got lucky.
Wow. So did you just bring your gear and like post up in like a back room or something?
We had the whole
Word.
setup. Actually, what was crazy is because we got there so early, they set us up in the artist green room, except for Redman. Redman had a separate green room because he's a little bit of a bigger celebrity than the other
Right.
two. But they set us up in the artist green room, and because we got there so early, we were the first ones that had access to that green room. So we just decked it out and took it over. So by the time Dizzy Wright and his crew showed up, and Devin and his crew showed up, that bitch looked like the Wiseman Show room. It didn't look like anything other than the Wiseman Show room. We had our shirts hanging up. We had our mics. Like, we had everything. It was all set up when they walked in. So it looked official when they walked in.
That's dope. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
it was dope.
So, yeah, I know you guys started like a Patreon, right? How's that been going? Like, how's the like transition into that?
Huh. It's a complicated answer because it's been good. It's nice to see, even if it's not the amount of money you feel like you deserve, it's nice to have some income.
Hell yeah.
What we're making is better. What we're making now is better than what we were making before, which was
Mm-hmm.
exactly zero. It's been, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm working on being. I've always been an honest guy, but I'm going through some personal stuff that is kind of. I'm going through an actual. People talk about being woke.
Yep.
I'm going through an actual awakening right now. I've suffered
Yeah.
a major tragedy in my life.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I appreciate it. It's going to make me better as a person. So
Absolutely.
it's okay. But I'm working on, I've always, not only myself, but I think the people that know me as a public figure kind of expect a certain level of honesty out of me.
Yep.
And I've always felt like I have been that person until very recently when I realized, yes, I have the tendency to be honest and sometimes blunt, but it's hard to explain. But there's the honesty that I've been giving for the last 5 years, actually for the last probably 25 years of my life, is not full on unfiltered honesty.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying really hard to work on being. It's more about. Let me run that back. I've been kind of lying to myself, not intentionally, but it's just kind of something that happened through my life. I don't know. I don't even know why. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yep.
And so, when you tell yourself a story, and then that story becomes your narrative in life,
Absolutely.
and it's like you gotta kind of break yourself down to build yourself back up to the person that you were always supposed to be. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to be completely honest with you right now about this Patreon thing. We did it under extreme hesitance, but we got to the point where we hit the 5-year mark and it felt like something has to give here or else we might have to hang it up because it takes a lot of time.
Absolutely.
And I am putting in, if you combine everything with the social media aspect, and the editing, the cutting room floor aspect and the actual recording process, plus the amount of time, this is the one thing that people don't talk about enough. When you do a guest-based podcast, the amount of time that you spend dealing with guests, potential guests, trying to book guests, trying to work around schedules, and trying to make sure that things work out, the amount of time you spend on that is no joke.
Yep.
So I have been putting in probably, at one point I was tracking my hours on how much I work on the Wiseman Show, and I was putting in 80 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to cut that down to about 60.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
And very recently I probably had cut it down closer to 40. But that's a full-time job. Plus I'm balancing my home life. I have 4 children, my wife and her job, and it's like there's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
and so
that is a lot.
I very recently realized this has been impacting my life negatively for a very long time. So I say all that to say the Patreon thing was something that we kind of did. Well, I'll speak for myself, not for Joe. A little bit out of frustration. It was like something needs to happen here. So let's just make this move. So we made the move. We have a good amount of loyal fans that are really hanging on and have no problem. But it's one of those things where it's really difficult because everybody out there's got $5.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like you got $5. I spend $5 on fucking water every day. Right. You know what I mean? Like you got $5.
Yep.
And it didn't take off the way that I thought it should.
Yeah, I feel that.
Um,
Yeah, it was a no-brainer for me to support you guys with that. I mean, like,
yeah, and I
um,
appreciate it.
I saw that you guys were doing that, and I mean, you guys put so much love and energy into the scene. I mean, I told Joe this, but I feel like you guys are absolutely necessary and have been for the last 5 years. I mean, listening to your guys' show, I feel like your guys' show, a lot of people do the interview thing, but you guys do it so well. I don't think there's anybody in the cities that do it better than you guys.
I
That
appreciate that.
like with the branding, with the interactions, with the way you guys come across. So it's a no brainer, and that is it's tough to hear that people weren't super quick to jump on that.
Yeah, it's one of those age-old algebra problems. You got to figure out how to make people want to part ways with their $5.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, it's tough to do. You know what I mean? It's not that people don't like the product.
Right.
It's not people don't want the product. It's not, but it's just tough to get people to go put in that payment information. That's really all it is. It's not that if they could just walk up to you and hand you a $5 bill, they would do that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been frustrating. And then you got to find a way to draw the line between, okay, guys, why are more people not subscribing? And thank you so much to all the people that have subscribed. You don't want to alienate the people that are paying that 5 to 10 to 20, 30, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough to do that, because then you start to make the people that are paying feel like, oh, like, y'all don't appreciate us. Like, okay, you know what I mean? So it's tough, and it can come off as, it can come off as a little selfish and maybe, but, I told you that I might be willing to open up about this tonight. And I think I will take this opportunity to just let you know that, unfortunately, with what's happening in my personal life, as of right now, the Wisemen Show is no more.
Okay.
Which I know is unfortunate. I know people don't want to hear that.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
I'm not saying that it'll never come back. I'm not saying that it won't. I mean, maybe 3 weeks from now, maybe I'll go, you know what? We're back. Yeah. But because of what's going on in my personal life, I just can't. It's hard to explain. I can't see it.
I definitely know how that is, man. Sometimes you have to just like take a step back and do you, man.
Yeah, if I'm being, again, brutally honest, completely honest here, I'm currently going through the worst time of my life. I mean, my entire 36 years. And I'll tell you exactly what's going on. So that way, when people watch this, they won't have to wonder anymore. New Year's Eve night, my wife decided that she wanted to end our relationship.
Oh, wow.
So after 9 years, and I will not speak poorly of her.
Yep.
But obviously you can understand the magnitude of that. And it was seemingly, for me, from my perspective, completely out of the blue. For her, it was not. Obviously there are two sides, two perspectives. And I very quickly had to realize my part in this. Again, there are two sides.
Yep.
And I know that in order for a relationship of this seriousness to end that way, I had to look in the mirror and realize the things that were my fault. And so because of that, kind of putting that big mirror up to myself, I realized that there are many things, some things I won't explain here, but I'll tell you, one of the things was my health. I avoid doctors like the plague.
Same.
And it seems to be a man thing. I don't know exactly. And I can tell you, just for me, the reason that I avoid doctors is because I am fucked up, and I know that. And I've always told her and myself and anybody else that's been concerned about me that I would rather just kind of die unexpectedly rather than go to the doctor, get this diagnosis, find out I have 14 different kinds of cancer, and then have to go through all that. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of that is anxiety speaking.
Right.
So anxiety tells you the worst story possible. And so I basically had gotten to the point where I had avoided the doctor so long where my anxiety had just taken over and just said, here's the deal, dude. You can't go to the doctor. He's like, go to the doctor. They're going to tell you got cancer. And then you're going to be on a hospital bed for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to do anything. You might as well just keep going the way you're going, and eventually you'll fall and die. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I know that that is one of the things that affected our relationship. So after this happened, I decided, all right, here's all of the things that I have not been doing or that I've been avoiding or things that I haven't taken care of in this relationship. I'm going to start facing them all, and I'm going to start taking them all on head on. If not for her and for my family, for me, because if this relationship is really going to be over, then I got to be better either way. Right.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to be over, if she, you know, if we decide that we can work this out, which is yet to be seen, then I got to be better. I can't continue doing what I've been doing in this relationship. So I went to the doctor. Because of COVID, nobody's in the doctor right now. Mm-hmm. So I was able to get into basically everything. I got x-rays, MRIs, physical, everything all in one day. And I don't have cancer, but I did find out that I am suffering from rheumatoid arthritis in my neck.
Okay.
And potentially other places in my spine. With all of this self-reflection, I have realized a big reason why I have avoided a lot of things and not been who I really should and need to be is because I have lost my confidence because of my neck problems. So, you know, I have a hard time turning my head. And I feel like people notice that. It's a noticeable thing. Now, that could just be anxiety telling me that's what's happening, or that could be real. It doesn't really matter because it's the fact. My neck's fucked up. It just is what it is. And now it turns out I probably won't be able to, you know, fix it. I can stop it from getting worse, but rheumatoid arthritis, you can't really fix. Bones are fused together. Not much I can do about it. But it made me realize that not only is it affecting my relationship with my wife, it's affecting my relationships outside of that. It affects my job as a podcaster. I am not as confident on that mic as I could be. I'm constantly thinking about, is that guest over there noticing that my neck's fucked up? You know, I'll be sitting there talking and they'll adjust their own neck. And I'm like, oh, was that a reaction to them looking at my neck?
Right.
Again, anxiety, it's all ridiculous. But if that's going on in my head while I'm interviewing, you know what I mean? I get a lot of compliments. People say I'm a good interviewer. I think I'm a pretty good interviewer.
Yeah, you're fantastic.
Imagine how good I could be if I didn't have all that on my, you know what I mean? All that on my mind also. Right. So it's been affecting me there. And I think that could be a giant effect as to why we haven't gotten further. It's affected relationships. The one thing that kills me the most, which I have not talked about yet publicly, which I'll talk about right now, is I used my having a family as an excuse to not be where I needed to be during the riots in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
Because I 100% had a responsibility to be there.
Yeah.
And I convinced myself that the reason I couldn't do that is because I have a family. I have kids. It's unsafe. I can't put myself in that danger. But the truth is, I was afraid to go down there because what if I had to run? I didn't feel like I could run. That's bullshit. I can run. My neck's just fucked up. But I convinced myself that this was a bigger deal than it was. What if a cop gets a hold of me and snags me up and thinks because of, you know, the stiffness of my neck or back that I'm resisting? And now there's some, you know, who knows what kind of, you know, you saw how they were handling people down there during that time. Right. Who knows what other injuries I could have sustained doing that. And that's the truth. And I'm saying it here for the first time now. That is the truth. The truth is, I feel like absolute dog shit. And I have for the past probably 9 days because I realized I was lying to myself. Now, I want to be clear. This was not intentional. I'm not intentionally lying to myself. I'm not I'm not making up stories. It's a product of anxiety. I've also realized I've been dealing with anxiety since I was a child, probably since I was five years old. And I didn't know that. This is why I posted the other day to pay attention to your anxiety because it's probably affecting parts of your life that you don't realize.
That's interesting. I've had anxiety all my life and I've realized it since I was a kid. So I find it really interesting. I've heard so many people tell their story about how they discovered that they have anxiety when they're adults. So I have no idea. I mean, I relate to having severe anxiety, but I've always known about it since I was, probably in middle school.
I definitely have been, I've known but avoided
Yeah.
or pretended that that's when, it's like, oh, every once in a while I have a panic attack or an anxiety attack.
Yep.
But it's not like something that really affects my life on a day-to-day basis. No, that's wrong. It's been
Yeah.
affecting me. There is a constant storm going on inside of my fucking mind and my heart, and it's never stopped.
Same.
Probably I'm starting therapy next week just so I can try and unpack all this baggage and figure out really what the root of this is. But I imagine, just based off of my own studies and research and just kind of thinking back, it started when my dad left. My dad left when I was about 5 years old, and created extreme unpredictability in my life. And I think that's where my anxiety comes from. And then on top of that, you carry that baggage with you from relationship to relationship. So I just want you gotta go deal with your shit.
Absolutely.
You have to, because you not only are you fucking up your own life, but you're potentially fucking up other people's lives. I'm over here. I got 4 kids. Like, I'm responsible for their lives as well. And I truly believe that my anxiety is mostly to blame for my relationship going bad. And I didn't know it. I didn't realize it until now. You know what I mean? It's like, I didn't know, my anxiety was holding me back from so many things, things that she wanted to do that I would come up with excuses not to do just because it was in my mind, no, we can't do that. We have kids. It doesn't work. We can't go on a vacation. We don't have time. That's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And it's all things that I made up in my own mind. It's all stories. My inner monologue has been bullshit for a really long time.
Absolutely.
Now, I got to give her credit though. As heartbroken as I am about it, and as much as I'm hoping we can work it out. If she didn't do this, I wouldn't be going through this awakening right now. Yeah. And who knows what would have happened, dude. I honestly,
might have saved your life.
She might have. She really might have. I mean, she did. She did. She definitely did. I hope she can see that she did, and we can come back together and fix this together, because there's definitely work to do. I don't think it's a weird thing to realize that this relationship that I've been so proud of for 9 years, and so I think other people have been envious of my relationship with my wife, because it looks just so perfect, and it has felt perfect for a really long time. But I'm realizing, again, I'm not sure if it started in a healthy place, and I don't think it's ever really been healthy. We've been leaning on each other and holding each other's baggage for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I haven't dealt with this baggage. I don't need to deal with the baggage of my dad leaving when I was 5. I have extreme abandonment issues that I've never dealt with. So when somebody says, hey, I don't want to be with you no more, I take that shit way more personal than I need to, because, often when someone says, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore, it's not necessarily about you. It's more about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's something changed in them. So there it is, man. That's my story. And people need to go. It's okay to go to therapy. Absolutely. It's okay to go unpack shit with a therapist. It's okay to talk about this shit. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to cry. All that shit is okay. We gotta get past all that macho tough guy shit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just, and it is changing. It is getting better.
Yep.
But it's specifically something in hip hop where it's like, dude.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
It's okay. It's okay to feel shit.
Yep.
It's okay to feel shit. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be hurt. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate you sharing that with me, man. I mean, because that's huge, man. And I mean, obviously, like, I'm sorry about your wife and stuff like that, but I really, really, really relate to the anxiety factor, because my own anxiety has held me back and done so many things to where, like, I'm not going to go into full detail. I'm not comfortable enough yet to go quite there, but when I didn't get my driver's license until I was 26 because of my anxiety. I had such, like, I mean, in every aspect of my life, anxiety has affected everything. I
Yep.
mean, even to the point where like I said, like I didn't, I got my permit when I was like 16, but I didn't get my driver's license for 10 fucking years because I was like deathly afraid for whatever reason. I had like tricked myself into thinking that I couldn't drive.
Yep.
And, I finally got my license, and like it was like one of those things where I was like, what the fuck was I worried about? But it's things like that that have like held me back in so many different aspects of my life.
Yep.
And it's now to where I'm finally like realizing and I didn't really think about it until you mentioned how much you avoid, stuff. Like I have been avoiding so many different things in my life, and that fucks shit up left and right. And that's one of the biggest issues with my girlfriend. I've been with my girlfriend for 10 years, and that the avoiding thing has been a huge issue. I mean, from
You
even
gotta
like,
go do the shit that she wants to do, man.
yeah,
Do it scared if you can. Because
yeah,
there's been, I mean, I'm telling you, my wife got a whole bucket list of shit that we never did. And you
hmm,
can't tell me if I showed it to you, you can't tell me that in 9 years we couldn't get some of that shit done.
right,
I couldn't go get on a damn horse or take a fucking dance lesson.
yep.
Like, dog, that shit I should have done.
Well, see,
I should have done that.
I'm the opposite with that. Like my girlfriend has extreme anxiety, so like I
Okay.
I get her to like travel and do the
Okay.
bucket list type stuff, but my whole thing is like not going to the dentist for 10 plus
Ah,
years,
yep.
or going to the doctor to get checked out certain things. Like I had this stomach issue that lasted for like 4 months last year, and she had to like beg me to go to the doctor,
Mm.
and like $2,000 in debt later, just to find out that it was like something that I just needed to stop drinking kombucha because it was like messing
Ah,
with my gut a bunch. But
yep.
but I mean, so I really relate to the whole like putting things off and avoiding things and all that stuff, man, cuz yeah, that's what I've been doing all my life, bro. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's it you have to just face your issues head on. You have to.
Have to.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I'm doing all that now. I'm doing it all, man. I mean, it's kind of wild. I think I may have put like a little bit too much on my plate too quickly, but I'm here now. I'm doing it. I'm reading, I'm writing, I'm going to the doctor on a regular basis. I
That's
got
what's up.
weekly physical therapy now. Like I told you, I'm starting, therapy for my anxiety in a week. I'm going to see a fucking rheumatoid specialist. Like, dog, I'm doing it all now. I'm doing it all, and it does, it ain't as scary as I thought it was. I
Right.
thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? And in fact, a lot of the pain that I've dealt with like my spine and my neck and my back and stuff, like a lot of that shit has subsided just because I went to the doctor.
That's what's
That
up.
shit affects you physically.
Yep.
Anxiety affects you physically as well.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yep.
Anxiety can cause all kinds of shit. All
Absolutely.
kinds of shit. Yeah.
I deal with that on a regular basis. I heard you also had a coaching call with my boy Chance.
Oh man. I'm telling you right now, that guy, I'm not sure if I should say that. All right. When I spoke to him, I was at a place where I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I want to be clear. I'm okay now.
Right.
But at that moment, I was in a place where death didn't sound all that bad.
I've
It
been there.
sounded a whole lot easier. And the crazy part is I've been there as well, probably when I was like 15 years old. And that's a whole different 15, that's a whole different thing because you're
Yeah.
going through all kinds of shit at 15. That's
Right.
You're going through body changes and you know what I mean? Like your girlfriend breaks up with you at 15. That's it. It's over.
Yep.
But I have not been there since then. And I was definitely feeling like not necessarily like I'm gonna take myself out, but it didn't sound bad.
Yep.
It didn't sound bad. And so when I say that Chance York for sure changed my life, he may have saved my life as well. And I don't know if he necessarily knows that either. So if he sees this, he can have his reaction to it. Um,
Absolutely.
I hit him up. So the universe had kind of been pushing me in his direction already for months,
Yep.
long before any of this happened. Um, But I think out of anxiety, again, I was probably afraid to reach out, probably afraid to hear or to do the, whatever work came with whatever he was offering. I was afraid
Yep.
to do that. I wasn't ready for that. I was actually talking to Joe on the phone, and I was pretty fucked up. I was sad, man. I was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe actually said, you should hit up Chance. And I was like, you know what? I should, because I've been meaning to and I've been wanting to. Why not now? And honestly, like
Yeah.
at the time, I was kind of just looking for anything. So while I was actually on the phone with Joe, I put him on speaker and I sent Chance a message on Facebook, and he responded back with his schedule for me to book him for an hour. And I responded back and I just said, look, I'm going to book you, but is there any way we could just talk right now, because I'm fucked up and I need help? And he said, absolutely. I'll make time for you. So he called me right away. And if that man didn't talk me off a ledge, whew, I'll tell you what, he just spoke so much wisdom and gave me such a different outlook on what was happening. Man, it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life to hit him up, because it didn't matter. Even without the tragedy that I was going through, I've been seeing him regularly now. I've seen him since then. I've met with him 2 times, and I've also joined his weekly group therapy or wellness sessions. And yeah, man, it's he's an amazing dude, and he's just scratching the surface on what he's going to do in this world.
I agree, man. I've known Chance. We go way back to like 2005, I want to say. Because my dude Eric Burton was actually the guitarist in his band Parallax, and then when he started Crunchy Kids, Eric Burton, I think, was the bassist of Crunchy Kids as well. So yeah, I went to high school with Eric, and me and Nemo and my buddy Mingy, we used to always go to their shows and stuff when they were first starting out. So right away, like, I was actually going to end up producing his first EP, but that never ended up happening. We only did like 2 tracks that never got finished. But anyway, I've known Chance for a minute, and to like see his transformation over just the last few years with what he's doing with his coaching and all that stuff has just been huge. And yeah, I did one of his calls, but we did it for this podcast for the second episode. So that was really dope. So that's why I brought it up, because I know that, people listening to this are probably going to be familiar at that point.
Reach out to him, people.
Yeah.
Hit him up. I don't care what you're going through. Your life might feel perfect. Yep. I promise you he can improve it. I promise.
Yep. Absolutely. I feel like he's going to save so many people's lives. And, like, because he works with kids too. And he just is, like you said, like, he's one of those forces for good, man. I feel like he's going to really do big things in the healing world and all that stuff. So man, I can't compliment you enough for hitting him up, and that's huge, man.
Yeah, man, he's become a cog in the wheel that is my support system. That's another thing I found through all this is I have a tremendous support system, man. I have the greatest friends on the planet, greatest mom in the world. Like it's been
Yep. Same here. I mean, my friends and family have really been what's gotten me through everything.
Yeah.
So I really, really relate to that. And yeah, man, I thank you so much for sharing that with me, man. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you opening up to me. And
absolutely,
just getting yourself help and knowing that you need help is just huge, man. And
we all need help, dude. We all need help.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. All of us.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that if you can ever get to a place where you're back on the Wisemen Show and stuff like that, because I know, just speaking from somebody that's just been observing you, like I said, like, you guys have been very instrumental in the hip hop scene, and you guys are necessary voices. You guys do a lot for a lot of people, and I want to thank you, and just thank you for all the support that you've given everybody, and just for being that dude, just for being that sort of, like, because I don't think I would be doing this if it weren't for, people like you, like,
that's amazing.
I mean, I've been like recording podcasts and stuff for other people and editing podcasts, but you guys are like a huge influence when it comes to that stuff. So
I'll never get used to hearing that
yeah,
ever. Promise you, I will never get. A lot of people have told me, like, I mean, I hear that from people that I didn't even know they knew who we were, and it's like, what?
right. Yep.
How is that possible? Like, who is it? There's a couple of young ladies that have a podcast going right now. I forget what it's called. I found out about it on Clubhouse actually. I can't remember what the name of it is, but we were I was in a Clubhouse room one day, and she started talking about how we're like, they look at us like we're their big brothers, and I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
Wow.
That's like incredible that you feel it. She's like, oh my God. She's like, you guys are like the first people to do this ever.
Yeah.
You're the most inspirational people in the music scene. And I'm like,
That's
holy
crazy.
shit.
That's dope.
That's powerful shit to hear. And like,
Yep.
that's the kind of stuff. And like what you're saying now, that makes it really tough for me to even say something like the Wiseman Show might be done.
Right.
But I also am in a place right now where I know, you said thank you for being that dude. And that triggered something in my mind, and it made me realize that what I need a break from is being that dude.
Yep.
I really do. I need a break from being that dude so I can focus on who that dude is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
I need to figure out who I am. Not to say that like I've been sitting around here lying to everybody. I am hip hop to the core.
Yeah.
I mean to the core. That will never change. Will never change. But internally there's a storm going on, there's a battle going on, and I got to sift through all the ash and all the mud and all the fucking carnage to figure out how I can be the best me possible. And at that point, I will be able to come back. I'll tell you what, at that point, if and when I come back,
you're going to be a beast, bro. A beast.
These motherfuckers better watch it.
Straight up.
They thought I was honest before. It's going to be a problem. It's
Yep.
going to be a big problem.
Yep.
Because I'm removing fear. And I won't lie, I definitely operate with a little bit of fear because I want people to like me, for one.
Right.
I do care about that, whether people think that or not. I don't want to get fucking Charlemagne, can I get a drop somewhere in the street?
Yep.
I don't want to get pulled up on at a show and get beat up for saying some shit that some rapper didn't like. I don't want that. But I'm letting go of fear now.
Yeah.
I'm letting go. I'm getting rid of all that fear shit. So it's going to be some no holds barred shit.
100%.
For real.
Yep.
Yeah.
And man, I hope that you get to that point, man. And I think you will, man. I think you're on the right path. I think you're on the right, you're taking the right steps to get to that point, man.
I know that I am for sure.
Yeah. And it's great to hear you say that. And I think just to even be able to feel comfortable, I mean, because we've never spoken face to face before. I mean, to be able to tell that to a relative stranger, I mean, that's huge, man. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength, and I think that takes even growth to even do that, even
I agree.
feel comfortable to be able to do that, man. So I mean, you're well on your way, man, and I just hope that you keep it up, and you can hit me up anytime. I mean, like literally anytime, like you need somebody to listen or talk or even come on here again, man. I mean, like you're welcome anytime, man. Because like I said, man, you're a huge influence. You're a great dude, and like I really appreciate you. I just appreciate you, dude. So
thank you, man. It's good to hear all that. It's really nice to hear that stuff. Like compliments are going a long way these days. I need to hear that stuff. So thank you for saying all that, and thank you for inviting me on the show. And
hell yeah, man.
Thanks for doing what you do. And honestly, like this felt like a therapy session. So
yeah, no doubt.
Thanks for
that's
the
what I've
kind
of realized. Yeah, that's what I kind of look at myself as. I mean, especially with this is why I started this. This is what, like, this episode is exactly why I wanted to do this, because I talked to so many different people. I mean, every single person that I've ever had be a part of Nice Guy Entertainment, minus a few maybe, go through anxiety, go through depression. I even have an artist that came out to me. One of my closest artists came out to me a couple years ago. And like I've just always kind of been that dude, that like everybody can kind of confide in and talk to, and I noticed all these talented ass people that, have all these different hurdles and mental setbacks and things that they're working on about themselves. And I feel like talking about it really just helps out, and it gives, a lot of people, other people, like, "Oh, I can relate to that," I went through that. So, man, like, thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you again, man, and, keep doing what you're doing, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And don't follow me anywhere because I'm probably gonna delete social media. So
Oh, word. Okay.
stay off my social media. Don't look at my shit.
Word. Well, I got your number, so we'll keep in contact over text then.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean you. I'm talking about
Oh,
them.
word.
The people,
Okay.
the viewers. The
Okay.
viewers. Don't follow me. Follow the
Word.
Wiseman Show though. Follow the Wiseman Show.
Yes, follow the Wiseman Show. Listen to all the episodes, like, what, 200 plus you guys got?
226, I think. And hopefully we'll be back at some point.
Hell yeah,
Even if
man.
it's not with me. Maybe Joe will continue with another host or something. But follow the Wiseman Show. Give the
Follow the
Wiseman Show
Wiseman.
the credit it deserves.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Have a great night, man.